Whitney Webb's reporting is currently more relevant than ever, as new details emerge about the deep connections between J.P. Morgan, Jeffrey Epstein, and Benjamin Netanyahu. It's crucial to understand the context that mainstream coverage often leaves out. Let's first take a look at Whitney Webb's response to David Urich's New York Times article on the connection between J.P. Morgan Chase and Jeffrey Epstein. Webb tweets, important context to add to the recent NYT article about J.P. Morgan and Epstein. J.P. Morgan's top executive, Jamie Dimon, was put in charge of the bank by interest from Bank One, tied directly to Leslie Wexner, as well as the Crown family, the patriarch of which, Lester Crown, was a founding member of Wexner's controversial mega group.
How are you feeling about the Epstein deposition this month?
I am so sad that we had any relation to that man whatsoever. You know, we had top lawyers evaluating this from this SEC enforcement, the DOJ. You know, and obviously, had we known then what we know today, we would have done things differently. But it's very unfortunate, and I have deep respect for these women. That doesn't mean we're liable for the action of an individual, but I do have deep respect for them. My heart goes out to them, and.
Why did J.P. Morgan ignore all the flagged Epstein transactions? I would say look no further than James S. Crown, the longtime board member who headed up JPM's risk committee until his death in 2023.
We do want to tell you about tragic news involving one of Chicago's wealthiest families. Jim Crown was killed in a car crash at the Aspen Motorsports Park in Colorado yesterday. He was there celebrating his 70th birthday. Crown was president of Henry Crown and Company on several boards, including J.P. Morgan and General Dynamics, and also worked hard to give back to Chicago. The governor just spoke about Jim.
He cared deeply about this city and about the people of the city. He was a tremendous philanthropist, supporting programs for people who had been left out and left behind, and someone who just on his own time and with his own heart reached out to help so many people across the city.
Webb continues, the Crowns, much like Wexner, have important historical ties to organized crime as well as the State of Israel. JPM shareholders were previously urged to remove Crown from the bank's board due to his alleged role in the bank's London whale scandal, showing that he was more than negligent in his role on the risk committee.
These days, J.P. Morgan Chase's reputation is tarnished. The full knowledge of the losses came to light in April of 2012, highlighting the bank's risk-taking with its own and customers' money. Jamie Dimon, J.P. Morgan Chase's CEO, famously dug himself into a hole by calling reports of the giant loss a tempest in a teapot. He was given a rough ride by a Senate committee that concluded J.P. Morgan Chase hid massive losses, disregarded risk, and tried to downplay its own failure after the scandal first became public. An activity critics say that should never have been allowed to happen while the firm was engaged in commercial banking.
You can read my two-part series detailing Dimon's rise to the head of JPM and the role Wexner and the Crowns played at Unlimited Hangout. Links in the tweet below. Next, Webb replies to a user on X saying it's the first time they've heard about Jeffrey Epstein having a relationship with Benjamin Netanyahu. The user notes that while Epstein's connections to other Israeli figures like Shimon Peres and Ehud Barak were already known, this new information about Netanyahu is surprising. They reference a New York Times article which claims Epstein introduced J.P. Morgan executive Jess Staley to Netanyahu, suggesting a prior connection between Epstein and the Israeli leader. Webb responds to this post by clarifying that the information isn't actually new.
Before Jeffrey Epstein was sentenced, for whatever reason, you have this billionaire who's just the definition of a flight risk. They don't take his passport away. And before he's sentenced, he flees the country, goes to Israel, and stays there for several months. Moved all his money offshore by this point. And while he's in Israel, he's telling people there that he's thinking about staying because you can actually do that. They don't extradite Jewish criminals.
She points out that she tweeted about Epstein's ties to Netanyahu back in April and highlights how Netanyahu has managed to make the Epstein scandal a partisan issue by focusing on his rival Ehud Barak's connections, while avoiding scrutiny of his own.
A former Israeli prime minister, Ehud Barak, explained the Barak-Epstein connection here. Barack received about $2.3 million from the Wexner Foundation, which was a philanthropic organization largely run by Epstein himself in conjunction with somebody who he organized and administered financial consultancy for. Barack was photographed coming out of the apartment of Epstein in New York in 2016. The work he did for the foundation dates back to 2006. So now we're seeing a trading of barbs between Barack and Benjamin Netanyahu. Benjamin Netanyahu tweeting, what else beside money, obviously, did that sex criminal, meaning Epstein, give Ehud Barak? Barack responding in kind, saying that it's a shame that people he's been involved with over the course of his life have resorted to criminality. Of course, not only Epstein, but he throws Netanyahu in that mix as well.
Webb's investigation reveals that Epstein's network extended far beyond sex crimes, implicating powerful figures like Benjamin Netanyahu, Jamie Dimon, and other global elites in a system built on blackmail, financial crimes, and impunity. These connections show how intelligence agencies, Wall Street, and political leaders are intertwined, with the same names and institutions surfacing again and again. Ultimately, Webb exposes how this entrenched web of power protects itself, ensuring that real accountability remains out of reach.